If you want to find your true self, you usually have to look in the last place you'd ever choose to go, the bottom of the pit. We spend our lives building what David Brooks calls resume virtues, the things that make us look successful to others. But adversity introduces us to something very different: eulogy virtues, the things that remain when everything else is stripped away. Because adversity isn't a construction crew, it's a diagnostic tool. It doesn't build character, it reveals it. And today we're exploring why your greatest struggle isn't a detour from your life, it's the moment your life becomes clear. Welcome to Passion Struck. Hi, I'm your host, John R. Miles, and on the show, we decipher the secrets, tips, and guidance of the world's most inspiring people and turn their wisdom into practical advice for you and those around you. Our mission is to help you unlock the power of intentionality so that you can become the best version of yourself. If you're new to the show, I offer advice and answer listener questions on Fridays. We have long-form interviews the rest of the week with guests ranging from astronauts to authors, CEOs, creators, innovators, scientists, military leaders, visionaries, and athletes. Now, let's go out there and become passion struck. Think back to the year 2000. Tom Hanks plays Chuck Noland in Castaway. When we meet him, he is the embodiment of modern efficiency. He's a FedEx executive who lives by the beep of a pager. He measures his life in minutes and seconds. To Chuck, time isn't something you experience, it's something you manage. He is a man who believes that if you work hard enough and stay on schedule, you can control the world. His identity is entirely external: his job, his productivity, his status. And then the crash. Suddenly, the man on the clock is in a place where time doesn't exist. No meetings, no deadlines, no expectations, just the relentless rhythm of the tide and the deafening silence of a world that doesn't care about his schedule. This is the first thing adversity does. It strips away the performance. On that island, Chuck Noland isn't an executive. He's not a success. He's not even a failure. He's just a man. Everything he used to define himself, the suit, the title, the pager, is gone. The island took his resume virtues and threw them into the Pacific. But here is what we often miss. Even after the plane goes down, we keep trying to live the life of the person who was on it. At first, Chuck's struggle isn't with the island, it's with his own memory of who he used to be. He's scanning the horizon for a rescue that isn't coming because he's still waiting for his old life to resume. He is a ghost of an executive trying to manage a desert island. Many of you are doing the same thing. You're trying to keep up appearances. You're trying to pretend the pager is still beeping. But as I said earlier, you cannot solve a reality. You are still resisting. Adversity reveals your baseline. It shows you who you are when you have nothing left to do. So let me ask you, and I want you to really sit with this as you're driving or walking right now. If everything you rely on disappeared tomorrow, your job, your status, your routines, the digital noise that tells you who you are, who is the person left sitting on that beach? Is that person someone you've spent any time with lately? Or is that person a stranger to you? Chuck survived because he eventually accepted the baseline. He stopped trying to be the executive and started being the survivor. He stopped mourning the man who was on time and started meeting the man who was on the island. And that's the moment endurance begins, when you stop mourning who you were and you start meeting who remains. Now, I know that's a heavy place to start, because the idea of being stripped of everything that makes you you, that's terrifying. But if you're listening to this and that island moment feels familiar, if you feel like the tide has gone out and you're standing there alone, I want you to know something. You're not navigating this in a vacuum. This entire series is about closing the gap between the person you've been performing and the person you're becoming. And if you want to go deeper into these ideas beyond the audio, I'd invite you to join me over at The Ignited Life on Substack. That's where I share clear, honest essays on purpose, resilience, and what it actually means to matter when life feels uncertain. It's the written companion to this journey. You can find it at theignitedlife.net. Now, a quick break for our sponsors. Thank you for supporting those who support the show. Now, let's go deeper. The island feels like stillness, but it's actually a period of intense internal movement. When your external structure disappears, when the office, the routine, and the social feedback loops vanish, it's easy to believe you are stuck in sand. We use words like stagnant, lost, paralyzed. The reality is that beneath the surface, your entire system is reorganizing. Think of it like a computer running a massive update in the background. To the observer, the screen is blank, but inside, thousands of lines of code are being rewritten. My conversations this week revealed the biological and psychological mechanisms of this shift. With Dr. Majid Fatoui, we explored how the brain responds to radical disruption. He made it clear that your brain adapts rather than shutting down during adversity. It enters a state of heightened plasticity, a forced reorganization. Your brain is a survival mechanism. It recognizes that the old map, the one you used for your old life, no longer works. It is actively searching for new neural pathways to navigate this new terrain. This isn't just getting through it. It is your physical biology demanding that you build a new version of yourself. Then there's the psychological recalibration. Kathy Giusti spoke about finding agency in the middle of a fatal cancer diagnosis. She was on her own island, stripped of the illusion of control over her health. But she found her baseline by realizing a fundamental truth. While she could not control the storm, she maintained total and absolute control over her agency inside of it. She stopped trying to fix the unfixable and started focusing on the decisions that she could make. This is the core of the shift. Endurance is recalibration. You are being rewired. Your brain, your identity, and your sense of self are all searching for a new way to function because the old version of you no longer fits your current reality. In a way, the island does something most of us avoid at all costs. It forces us to prove the strength of the floor only after the rug has been pulled out. It reveals that you have untapped reserves, mental and emotional muscles you never had to flex when life was comfortable. You are learning that your foundation is made of something much stronger than the status or success that used to sit on top of it. But eventually, the island stops being enough. Survival as a permanent state is exhausting. And at a certain point, your perspective shifts from how do I survive this beach to how do I leave it? You realize I will rise from this. This is where endurance becomes something deeper. It moves from a defensive posture into an offensive evolution. The island has revealed who you are. It has shown you your baseline. Now, the next challenge is deciding who you're willing to become to get off that beach. That brings us to the pit. Now, if the island is about finding your baseline, the next stage is about identifying your barriers. And for that, we have to look at the 2012 film, The Dark Knight Rises. There's a sequence in the movie that is perhaps the most visceral metaphor for adversity ever put on film. Bruce Wayne is thrown into an ancient underground prison known as the Pit. It's a literal hole in the earth, a vertical stone cylinder stretching hundreds of feet upward toward a small, daunting patch of blue sky. Every prisoner there tries to climb out. There's a ledge, a terrifying jump near the top that almost everyone misses. They fall, they break, and they end up right back where they started. And Bruce Wayne fails too. Not once, but twice. Now, when we watch this, our performance brain thinks the problem is physical. We think he's not strong enough. He's not fast enough. He hasn't trained hard enough. But the pit, much like the island, is a diagnostic tool. And what it reveals is that Bruce isn't failing because of a lack of muscle. He's failing because of his safety net. Every time Bruce attempts to climb, he wears a heavy rope tied around his waist. It's his security. He tells himself the rope is what allows him to take the risk. If he falls, the rope catches him. But there's an older prisoner who watches him fail and tells him the truth that changes everything. He says, "You do not fear death. You think this makes you strong. It makes you weak." This is the moment of truth for all of us. The island shows you who you are. The pit forces you to decide who you're willing to become. For many of you listening, you are currently in your own pit. You're trying to climb out of a career setback, a health crisis, or a broken relationship. And you're climbing and climbing and climbing, but you got a rope tied around your waist. That rope is your ego. It's your past successes. It's the backup plan you're secretly obsessed with. It's the comfort of your old identity that you refuse to let go of because you're terrified of the fall. But here is the paradox of the pit. The rope that is meant to keep you safe is the very thing that makes the jump impossible. Because as long as you have a safety net, you will never commit the full weight of your soul to the leap. Adversity reveals that your security is actually your greatest barrier. Bruce Wayne didn't escape the pit because he grew stronger. He escaped because he became someone different. He moved from endurance to transformation by choosing the climb without the rope. This, my friends, is the part of the process where the resistance is loudest. We live in a culture that is obsessed with adding. We want to add skills, add followers, add wealth, add resilience. We want the quote unquote new me without having to say goodbye to the quote unquote old me. We want the triumph of the climb without the terror of dropping the rope. But you have to understand the fundamental law of the forge. Adversity is subtraction before it becomes addition. Think about a sculptor standing before a massive, jagged block of marble. To an untrained observer, it looks like a scene of destruction. The sculptor is swinging a mallet, driving a chisel into the stone. Chips of marble are flying everywhere. There's dust, there's noise, there's violence. If the marble could feel, it would feel like it was being diminished. It would feel like it was being destroyed. But the sculptor isn't destroying the stone. She is revealing the masterpiece. She is subtracting everything that isn't the statue. She is removing the excess. She is cutting away the stone that was hiding the potential. When you are in the pit, when you are on the island, the struggle is chipping away at your resume virtues. It's taking away the ego, the false securities, and the performative version of you that you spent decades building. It feels like loss. It feels like death. But in reality, it is the process of refinement. The pain you feel right now, that isn't the sound of you breaking. It's the sound of the extra you falling away. It's the noise of the sculptor's chisel hitting the stone so that the real you, the one capable of surviving the island and making the leap from the pit, can finally emerge. Adversity doesn't just show you where you're weak. It reveals the untapped reserves you never had to draw upon when life was easy. You never know the true strength of your foundation until the house on top of it is leveled. As we close out this first week of our Forged in Adversity series, I want you to stop looking at your struggle as a detour. Start treating it like an interruption to your real life. Look at the island. Look at the pit. The island stripped away the performance and the masks so that you could find your baseline. It revealed the foundation of who you are when the external world is silent. The pit identified your barriers. It exposed the rope of false security and ego you've been clinging to, the very things keeping you from your highest potential. There's a deeper reason we must make the climb. Survival is not the final goal. The goal is to move from a state of endurance into a state of growth. This requires a shift in how we see ourselves. Most of us are conditioned to look at our lives through the lens of what is broken or wrong. We get lost in labels and external problems, while the internal architecture of our lives remains unexamined. So I will leave you with this. If everything you rely on disappeared tomorrow, if the titles were gone, and the safety nets were cut, who would still be standing? That person is the one who is truly passion struck. That is the person capable of making the jump. Next week, we move into Act 2, Recovery. We will be joined by Dr. Paul Conti, a Stanford-trained psychiatrist and leading expert on trauma and mental health. Paul argues that we have to stop polishing the hood while the engine is failing. We're going to learn how to move from a mindset of what's wrong with me to a state of curious, compassionate self-understanding. We will explore how to rebuild an internal architecture that isn't just surviving, but is actively generative.
And the thought that a book about mental health would be about mental illness, right, is a natural thought to have. And I think it follows from how the system frames mental health. And it frames it just in terms of what's wrong with us, right? And there are enough numbers in the book of diagnoses to give all of us a whole bunch of diagnoses. What does that do? It just makes us, it creates fear and confusion in us. And we see mental health through that reflexive shame, what's wrong with me lens, as opposed to seeing, hey, I'm interested in this. I want to build good mental health, just as we build good physical health.
And I want to end with an ask. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with a friend or a family member who could use the wisdom that we explored today. If you want to catch the video version, you can go to YouTube, and please remember to check out The Ignited Life to go into the workbook that we've designed to go along with this episode. You can find it at theignitedlife.net. Now, don't just endure the struggle. Let it reveal you. Drop the rope, accept the baseline, make the jump. I'm John Miles. Thank you for being here. Now go out there and live a life that is forged in adversity.